Only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. Women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. A man is only loved under the condition that he provides something.
This is the hard truth, the reality most people don't want to admit. Men, deep down, they know this. They learn it early. They see it unfold in relationships, in friendships, in the workplace, and they never forget it. It's not just a lesson. It's a survival guide for navigating a world that often asks them to give more than they get. Remember this? Knowledge like this shapes decisions, behavior, and even the willingness to engage in dating at all. It's not paranoia, it's clarity. And that's exactly why so many men are quietly stepping back, observing, and choosing their energy wisely. They've learned the rules, and they refuse to play a losing game. Asterisk.
Name one lie she said.
Welcome to men's issues the society likes to ignore and blame on men. What's the biggest one? Violence. It's you're not allowed to hit girls, which gave girls free rein to slap, kick, and abuse. And if he fought back, then he's only confirming the stereotype of an abusive male. Depression. Men suck at handling mental health because as a society, we don't make it acceptable for them to talk about it. Women are more likely to seek help, and men are absolute experts at pretending like nothing's wrong.
Facts.
I want you to listen to that again. The biggest killer of our troops isn't terrorists, bombs, or gunfire. It's suicide, and it should be a national scandal. It's not treated like that, though. Education! My God, education! Men are trailing women on a graduating level by a vast amount. The youth unemployment rate for black male dropouts is over.
Here's someone who actually gets it. Someone who's cool, unapologetically, honest, and smart enough to read the room. She sees the chaos of today's generation, the drama, the entitlement, the endless scroll of comparisons, and she doesn't flinch. But here's the kicker. She also recognizes something most people conveniently ignore. Mental health, the emotional toll, the stress, the anxiety spiraling through men and women alike. It's real, it's heavy, and it's shaping how people show up in relationships, in dating, and even in life. She's not just commenting, she's diagnosing a cultural epidemic. And the fact that she's open-minded enough to say it out loud, that's rare. Because acknowledging the problem is the first step to not repeating the same mistakes over and over. Asterisk.
Simply saying hello, simply saying, hey, you look nice, looking at them is considered weird if men do it nowadays. And that is the state of what has happened to men and masculinity and anything related to manhood nowadays, is we're wrong. We're wrong, we just have to accept it, and that's how it is.
Gentlemen, listen closely. It's time to hold the line. This isn't just advice, it's a strategy for survival. For many men today, it's all about self-preservation, protecting your energy, your finances, your peace of mind. We're living in an era where one wrong move in relationships can cost more than just heartbreak. It can mean financial devastation. Divorce courts, alimony, custody battles. These aren't abstract fears. They're very real consequences that make stepping into marriage feel like walking into a minefield. So men are making a calculated choice. Retire early from the game, opt out of risky entanglements, and focus on building a life where they can thrive without being drained or taken advantage of. It's not cynicism, it's wisdom. And the fact that so many still don't get it, that's the exact reason this reality is shocking to some, but crystal clear to those who've learned the hard way.
Places men dead last every time, and society expects men to place themselves dead last every time. I think if I was going to be an object, I'd rather be a sexual one or somebody's prized possession than an object that can simply be thrown in the trash or smashed into pieces in the service of somebody else's purpose.
Mechanics are becoming harder to come by as open positions stay vacant.
We're experiencing a shortage of just about everything these days, and now we're learning about a shortage of airplane mechanics.
There is a shortage of skilled tradespeople throughout the U.S. economy.
I could hire 6, 8 experienced plumbers right now.
But they're just not out there?
They're just not out there.
First and foremost is the perception
of plumbing. There's this stigma that goes along with getting your hands dirty. Just a plumber, not a person, just a plumber. And I don't want to be that guy.
Some people tend to look down on that, and that makes people not.
Here's the blunt truth. Men aren't sticking around in a system that openly works against them. Why would they? Why would anyone willingly invest time, money, and emotion into a world that seems designed to punish them at every turn? We're talking about societal expectations, bias courts, and a culture that often celebrates female empowerment while sidelining male struggles. Men are noticing it. They see the double standards, the endless blame, and the lack of accountability, and they're stepping back. This isn't laziness. It's a wake-up call. When a system signals that your effort is undervalued, your loyalty exploited, and your very existence scrutinized, opting out isn't just rational, it's self-preservation. And that's exactly why participation is dropping. Men are choosing to survive, not to sacrifice themselves needlessly.
Young people getting more radical by the day. After COVID, my idea that we're going to have some kind of revolution really faded pretty quickly.
Yeah, I know.
Right? I don't think we're going to have some, 1776 revival here.
1789? I hope not.
Let's hope not. Yeah, I don't want to go on the guillotine either. But I think more and more what's going to happen is people are going to check out. We're already seeing this, right? We hear people, men walking away from the workforce, walking away from forming families. We're going to keep eating out the center of what actually holds our society up. We think it's abstract ideas. What it actually is young men going out working, forming families, finding worthy women, creating families, building societies together. That's what actually holds these things up, and it's all going to haul out from the center. And you can't import foreigners fast enough to solve this problem for you. And so what we're going to end up with is if we don't take radical action, I don't think it's some kind of armed rebellion. What we're going to see is a society that falls apart from.
Let's break it down. It's all about return on investment. Men aren't just throwing themselves into relationships, careers, or social obligations blindly anymore. They're evaluating the cost versus the benefit. Time, energy, money, emotion. If the payoff isn't there, they're simply not playing the game. And here's the tragic part. Society has systematically failed men. From skewed expectations to one-sided rules, the system often rewards risk for men while punishing them for trying. Yet, many men themselves don't fully realize their own value, their true worth, which makes navigating this landscape even trickier. So what we're witnessing isn't selfishness or laziness, it's clarity. Men are learning the hard way that if you're not being valued properly, stepping back isn't just an option, it's survival. And until society recognizes this imbalance, this withdrawal will only keep growing. Asterisk.
Which is out there is that women who are single and who are in their late 30s or early 40s often say this because they're trying to root out competition by shaming men, by saying men shouldn't be attracted to women who are younger than they are, especially by a significant age gap, because they actually want to secure those men for themselves.
I'm definitely not shaming men.
If there was a 22-year-old woman who was dating, let's say, a 44-year-old man, you don't see that.
I just think like women 25, 24, I would say, 24 and under, I think it's a little creepy when men in their 40s are going for like a 20-year-old.
You literally just contradicted yourself because you're shaming men. You're saying if men go after women who are, let's say they're 44, they go after a woman who's 24. It's within your criteria.
Mm-hmm.
They're 20 years younger. You are now shaming those men. You say, listen to the word. Hang on, here's the verb. It's creepy, right? Why shouldn't we assume that the reason that you think that is because if women, or if men who are in that age bracket who would be a prime target for you.
In the female body and more fat, and the opposite in a man. And so if we just forget, that how we are both, as men and women, equally important, men are missing where they're supposed to be, the rock, where they're needed. Men are needed in the household. Men are needed to take care of the boys that are, maybe don't have fathers and need better examples so that they don't get put out into the street doing some, crimes and getting involved with the wrong crowd, because when a boy is lost, that's what he does, okay? And then, gets into drugs, gets into homelessness, and it's just a whole pipeline. It's very easy for it to happen. It could have been very easy for me to end up that way.
Most men figure this out early, maybe not in school, maybe not in their first relationships, but somewhere along the way, they learn a crucial truth. when the game is rigged against you, when the rules are stacked unfairly. The smartest move isn't to fight endlessly. It's to take your balls and walk away. This isn't bravado or rebellion. It's instinct honed from experience. Life teaches harsh lessons about fairness, loyalty, and reward, and men internalize them quickly. They see systems that demand risk without promise, that punish effort rather than reward it, and they learn that sometimes self-preservation is the only strategy that makes sense. It's a lesson society rarely talks about openly, but it's why so many men quietly disengage from dating, relationships, and even certain social expectations. They've seen the scoreboard. They know who wins and who loses, and they refuse to play by rules that aren't designed for them.
Most feminine women are coming to is this cool relationship between men and women where it's men's goal and purpose is to civilize nature, but women's goal and purpose is to civilize men. And
Nice.
so there's just this mixing of this is how the roles should be. And if women are trying to civilize nature, it's not going to work. It's going to turn into chaos. It's going to slip out of their hands. We're not capable. That's not our God-given purpose. But if we can spend our time civilizing men and then inserting beauty into the places that men build in the culture, then that's where a woman can click into her most powerful essence. And a lot of women are, by rejecting feminism, are finding femininity and then finding that truth is where they can insert beauty and life and civilize men.
Here's the truth. Most men don't hear enough. Protecting yourself isn't just smart. It's necessary. The family court system, often corrupt, biased, and unpredictable, is a minefield. One misstep, one messy divorce, and you could find yourself at 40, financially drained, living paycheck to paycheck, all because the system expects you to pay alimony and child support. Marriage, in today's landscape, can be a silent career ender, a financial trap, a gamble where the odds are stacked against you. It's not about cynicism or fear. It's about survival. Men are realizing that committing blindly isn't romantic. It's risky. So when men step back, when they hesitate, or when they outright opt out, it's not a lack of emotion or desire. It's foresight. They're guarding their future, protecting their financial freedom, and refusing to be collateral damage in a system that doesn't always play fair. For many, the easiest way to ruin your future isn't failure, it's marriage.
And you're arrogant and you think you're something when you're not. Trust me, society will teach you very quickly that you don't matter when you don't get laid and you stay a fucking brokey. If you're a chick and think you're something when you're not, you can run around with your ego, still get dates, still get laid, still have a fairly sensible social life. Society as a whole doesn't come along and slap you in the face with realizations. If you're a man and you think you're something you're not, it is a ticking time bomb until society teaches.
Take a look at the world men are navigating today. It's a battlefield of toxic politics, toxic inequality, a toxic economy, toxic dating, toxic marriages, toxic social media, and toxic work environments. Everywhere they turn, there's division, conflict, and opposition. It's relentless, exhausting, and it's shaping how men choose to engage or not engage with the world. And here's the kicker. Some women are starting to sense that something's off. They notice the withdrawal, the disengagement, the quiet stepping back from dating and relationships. But here's the brutal truth. They often refuse to face. The problem isn't the men stepping away. The problem lies in themselves, in entitlement, unrealistic expectations, and double standards. So, men, keep going your own way. Protect your mind, your wallet, and your peace. The world is messy enough, and until these cultural patterns change, many women simply aren't worth the chaos. It's not bitterness, it's clarity. It's choosing value over drama, strategy over sacrifice, and survival over needless loss.
Yes, I did. It's basically how do we stop men from checking out of society while continuing to tell men that they're of no specific worth?
Not real values.
Yeah,
This is a
real.
show of a British guy doing that too. He's like Lord something. He had like a name out of like a Roald Dahl book. Can't even remember. It was like Lord Hufflepuff or something. He had a similar statement, but
Yeah, boys are waste of space.
yeah, waste of space. Yeah, that was it.
How do we make them not wastes of space? How do we make them?
Women just have to say they won't date them if they continue to be waste of space. It's like, dude, are you weird?
How do we beat men to death, men and boys to death emotionally, while still having them realize that we deserve their efforts in order to maintain whatever purpose or.
Ask yourself this: why should men pour their time, energy, and resources into building, funding, and defending a society that treats them like disposable labor? A society that applauds their work, their sacrifice, and their loyalty, but never truly values them in return. Men are waking up to this imbalance. They see a system where risk falls almost entirely on their shoulders financially, emotionally, socially, while the rewards are skewed elsewhere. The phrase disposable food wrapper might sound harsh, but it captures a real sentiment. So much effort, so much contribution, so little acknowledgement. It's no wonder men are stepping back when you realize the game is rigged. The smartest move isn't to play harder, it's to protect yourself, recalibrate, and only invest where your worth is recognized. Survival isn't selfishness. It's the ultimate form of accountability to yourself and to your future.
With my daughter, pretty much every night, and my son, we say the serenity prayer very often. That's been a meaningful prayer in my life. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Let's be real. The feminization of society has had a deeply destructive impact on men today. It's not about blaming women individually. It's about the cultural shift, the redefinition of values, and the subtle ways institutions, media, and policies now operate. For many men of this generation, it's left them confused, marginalized, and questioning their role in a world that seems to undervalue traditional masculine contributions. And it's not just a problem for today. The ripple effects are going to be felt for decades, shaping how future generations of men approach education, careers, relationships, and family life. Skills, confidence, and resilience that once came naturally are now under constant pressure to adapt or be sidelined. It's a structural issue, a cultural experiment that hasn't considered the full consequences and the truth. Men are paying the price mentally, emotionally, and financially. Understanding this isn't misogyny, it's clarity. It's seeing the system for what it is and deciding how to navigate it wisely.
Conversation about the top men up here. Yeah, sure, there's a lot of men CEOs and all that. Okay. This is a conversation about men in general. Most men are not in positions of power. They're regular guys walking around, and you know what they are? They're figuratively castrated by society and by modern media. They're walking around being told they're toxic all the time. They can't say anything to women without having their head bit off. Oh, you're a misogynist. For every little thing, they're like, forget it. God forbid they want a feminine woman. It's like a crime. That's what's going on for the average guy. There's expectations of them. They're going to make six figures. They're going to do all this. In the meantime, the woman gets to just do whatever she wants and claim feminism as an excuse for why she gets to live the exact way she wants and make the demand she wants, but he can't do anything and say anything without getting his head bit off. That's the reality of most.
Let's talk about double standards, the kind that hit men hard, yet rarely get discussed openly. Picture this. If a wife is upset, she can withhold meals, stop doing laundry, freeze him out of the bedroom, ignore his messages, and face almost no real consequences. It's emotional leverage built into the dynamics of the household. Now, flip the script. If a husband is upset, what tools does he have? He can't freeze the credit cards, stop paying bills, or halt support for her car or phone. Legally, he can't withhold what's expected of him. The scales are tipped and the imbalance is glaring. This isn't about punishing women. It's about recognizing a structural reality that leaves men vulnerable. Men are expected to shoulder responsibilities with legal and financial strings attached, while their emotional needs can be ignored without consequence. Understanding this isn't bitterness, it's a survival lesson. It's why so many men are questioning, stepping back, and reconsidering what's worth their time and energy.
Are checking out of society and relationships. People don't go where they're unwanted.
And everybody always puts the blame and shame on men for everything that has gone wrong in society. A woman wants a man who is emotionally available and sensitive, but if a man expresses his sensitivity, he is told that he has a fragile ego. If a man wants to defend himself against a woman, she will shame him into being quiet by saying he's either too aggressive or he has toxic masculinity or he has, again, a fragile ego. If a woman says something offensive, she is protected. If a man says something offensive, he is canceled. It's considered sexist or misogynist to point out a woman's shortcomings, and you have to walk around eggshells with them because of their sensitivity. But men get mocked, ridiculed, and disrespected in society, and they're just supposed to sit back and take it. You can make fun of men all you want online, mock them, criticize them. If you do that to a woman, you'll...
This is what really screws men. As men, we are socialized and conditioned to only feel anger. This is the only emotion you are allowed to feel as a man growing up. And this is the one emotion that gets demonized when you're older. So I'll give you a simple example. So when I get bullied in school, like, what am I supposed to do, Stephen?
In school, well, it depends if you can fight back.
Absolutely. Like, you didn't say talk to the teacher. You didn't say cry about it, because if I cry about it, what's going to happen, Stephen?
You're going to get bullied more.
Absolutely. So men experience anger as something called an umbrella emotion. We literally suppress and are conditioned to suppress all other emotions except for anger. And then if you talk to men about their experience of life, anger is always the first thing that comes out of their mouth. Someone breaks up with you. How do you feel about it? Do you feel ashamed? No, that's not what we say. I feel pissed off. How could she do this to me? And then we vent that anger on the internet, and then this turns into misogyny. The men who are saying these kinds of toxic things are saying that for a reason. This is because of their upbringing. This is because of the world that they lived in.
Here's a scenario that's becoming all too familiar. A man who's followed the rules his entire life, worked hard, stayed loyal, played fair, suddenly finds himself expected to clean up the emotional and physical mess left behind by a woman who chased after the guy who broke every rule imaginable. It's a story of imbalance, of effort mismatched with reward, and of expectations that feel, frankly, unfair. Society celebrates the rule breaker, the risk, while the man who plays by the book is left carrying the fallout. And it's not just frustrating, it's demoralizing. This is part of a broader cultural shift where loyalty and consistency aren't necessarily respected or rewarded. And men are quietly realizing that putting themselves in these positions often comes at a high personal cost. Understanding this dynamic isn't cynicism, it's wisdom. It's why so many men are stepping back, reassessing, and deciding that protecting themselves is more important than cleaning up someone else's chaos.
When I come back to America, it's just like consistently this, like, how can we put more accountability on men? And how can we take more accountability away from women? And then, like, the mainstream media, the music, the video games, like, you're in the gaming industry too, you know, like, everything is just like piling on to shit on men and like endlessly jerk off women. And guys are kind of just like, all right, like, it's kind of gotten to this point where it's fucking ridiculous. Like, guys absolutely have issues too, but men are just not going to sit around and cry and feel sorry for themselves. But women will, 9 times out of 10, they will.
What do you think it means to be a man today in 2023 though? You don't even need to look anything like a man to be a man.
Toxic masculinity for sure. Women in general are seen as like meek.
Women have all these options, match, nonstop.
Young men have to some extent been de-skilled in terms of relationships. And if there's a war, you've got to pick sides.
Men are literally disgusting.
White men dominate and exclude women.
Men are trash. That's common in society.
And in the absence of proper role models, men are feeling lost, lacking direction, and even forgotten.
Young men didn't know what they were supposed to be doing.
Most men are desperately lonely.
And if either gender can't show up as their best, it can only hurt society. But in today's lack of nuance, is it considered sexist to even explore masculinity? And can we realistically find a balanced approach to gender dynamics, or is it too far gone? I guess we gon' see.
What do you think it means to be a man today in 2023 then? In 2023,
home. It's supposed to be a man's sanctuary, a place of peace, a refuge from the chaos of the outside world. But here's the reality. Peace only works if the people you let in actually contribute to it. Until a man can be certain that a woman will add to the tranquility rather than bring drama and conflict, why would he invite her into his space? It's a question of energy, boundaries, and men are increasingly protective of their inner world, their emotional territory. They've seen how quickly chaos can infiltrate a home, how small issues spiral into constant stress, and how their sanctuary can turn into a battlefield if the wrong dynamics are allowed in. This isn't about being cold or distant. It's about discernment. The home should be a haven, not a war zone. And until a woman proves she can enhance that peace rather than disrupt it, many men are simply opting to preserve their calm and protect what's theirs.
Society puts huge pressure on men, and it's time for men to perform. As a man, you either perform or you don't. There's no safety net like there is for females. Females can wake up and say, I don't feel like it. The men who say, I can't feel like it, cannot compete with the men who do not say that. And it is player versus player. The man who goes to the gym every single day, regardless of how he feels, will always beat the man who goes to the gym when he feels like going to the gym. And it's player versus player. And let me tell you something. As much as you want to sit here and disagree with me, it's women who decide who the winner is.
You know, what is there about the developed nations that is leading to boys doing so poorly? When it comes to boy-girl time, if he feels he's a sensitive boy and is being rejected by girls because girls tend to date winners, not losers, and he's now experiencing himself as a loser because he doesn't accomplish things very well, he then becomes angry and hurt and withdrawn. And if the video game addiction doesn't satisfy him, or the alcoholism or the drugs don't satisfy him, he can turn to porn, which will addict him to girls and women as objects rather than as real people. And which leads to more rejection by the girls who feel treated as objects because they're being treated as objects. Those are the boys that are set up for the mass shooters. They look to ISIS or some other larger sense of purpose that their dad didn't provide, or they become our prisoners. In the United States, 93%.
Here's the reality, gentlemen. Most of us aren't checking out of society. We're not retreating from work, friendships, or life itself. What we are checking out of are relationships, dating, and women. The modern romantic landscape has become a minefield, and many men are choosing to step back rather than play a game stacked against them. Think about it. You can still participate in society, build a career, enjoy hobbies, and create a fulfilling life without a girlfriend, a wife, or children. Detaching from relationships doesn't mean detaching from life. It means prioritizing self-respect, security, and peace of mind. And until men are treated fairly by women, by society, by government, by courts, this trend isn't slowing down. In fact, it's going to intensify. Men are learning that stepping back isn't cowardice or apathy. It's strategy. It's a calculated response to a world that hasn't valued their effort or their worth. And it's only going to keep shaping the next generation of relationships.
That here is like, each of you, when we talk about which choice you'd make, like the career or the babies, we've asked this before, and I'll let you keep going around, but usually it ends up being, well, I'm gonna do what makes me happy. And if humanity dies, it dies. But men don't ever even really get that choice. Men don't ever even contemplate that. Men are like, well, the world needs to be built. You know, men don't get value just from being cute. Like, you guys could do nothing. You could just sit there, and every word that comes out of your mouth can be absolutely R-worded, and you can be total airheads and be totally good for nothing. And as long as you're cute, some man is gonna love you and pay your bills and give you whatever you want and do whatever he needs to do to make you happy. Men don't have that. Men have to provide value, or nobody gives a shit about them. And even when they do provide value, people still...
Now that is hitting the nail on the head. Imagine a world where simps men who give endlessly without boundaries or self-respect simply stopped existing. A world where men recognize their worth and stop enabling toxic behaviors. What would happen? Women would have to face reality. They'd have to take responsibility for their actions, their expectations, and the consequences of their choices. No more free passes, no more emotional manipulation, no more double standards being swept under the rug. Accountability would finally come into play. It's a radical thought, but think about the ripple effects. Relationships would become clearer, expectations would be more realistic, and mutual respect could finally start to mean something again. A world like that, it would be sharper, fairer, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit closer to balanced.